Hi everyone, good evening, Monday evening, and we are musing tonight with some questions that we've had sent in. I'm joined by Claire from Decadence, a unique wedding venue marquee coming out of a vintage double-decker bus bar, cocktail bar based in the Midlands, and Shuggy, who is a Kaylee caller for fun, social and inclusive wedding entertainment based in Nottingham. And I am Sarah from VIP Functions and Flowers. And if you saw my video earlier on social media, I'm the one without a personality. So I'm going to go straight into our questions to prove that I have actually got a personality while my ever fading voice is fading again. So I have got them written down here. So our first question came in from Dan. We don't highlight anybody, we just got first names. So we don't embarrass anybody for stupid questions. And just to let you know, there are no stupid questions, just stupid people.
Yeah.
Dan asks our opinion on an open bar. Are open bars needed, or is it acceptable to just give our guests or their guests a welcome drink, a toast drink, a glass of wine with the meal, and maybe a shot or a drink as a favour? So what are your thoughts? We go to Claire as a venue owner and see what she thinks on this one.
I think, like a lot of decisions for weddings, it does come down to your budget. So I quite often advise my clients, especially if they're not doing a traditional formal sit down meal, do they need to necessarily have wine on the tables? I think a welcome drink is a really nice part to do, especially because it also then, in terms of everybody's arrived and everyone can go straight away and get something, most places will have a bar open. So I never say to my couples, don't worry, you don't need to supply 10 different drinks on a welcome drink. Choose what you want to do. Now, we do lots of options at our bar, from the kind of standard prosecco, pims, bottled beer, but we also do cocktail options and various things. So in terms of an open bar, I'll be honest, very few of my weddings these days do a full open bar. They might do the first hour, they might do tokens sometimes. So I've done a couple of my bars where they've done, especially for us being a bar that's based inside a bus, we have quite a lot of bus tokens. People can go and exchange that for a drink. I think the problem with an open bar is you will always get somebody who's going to go and try and order a triple Jack Daniels and, drink it in the space of 2 minutes and go back for another. So while you might think everybody's getting a fair share at an open bar, it doesn't kind of always work that way. So I would first of all say, look at your budget. And then, if you have to prioritize it, my order of doing things would be a welcome drink, a toast drink, a shot or something like that if you want to, then wine, and then an open bar. And look, if you've got a great budget and you've got the facility to do it, then obviously everybody loves a free bar. But just be mindful of those things. Even with my corporates that are doing a free bar, we quite often put kind of not conditions on it as such, but it's a single spirit and mixer, or it's a pint or a glass of wine. Like, we certainly don't allow bottles to go out, like bottles of wine or bottles of prosecco. Or a lot of my couples might do, instead of a wedding favour, they might do like a cocktail and do it on a drinks token. So yeah, that would be my thing. Open bars, I think they're a lot more common still in the States. I think in this country I see a lot less of open bars now for wedding days.
Okay, what about you? By the time it gets to the evening, what's the protocol for you?
Yeah, you can usually tell when there's been an open bar by the time
Yeah.
you get to the evening. To be fair, I think it depends on the venue. So if you've got a venue like Claire's and everything she sees actually is 100%, because I've done Kaylee's in those venues, and I also see it when I do the all day sort of background music and microphones and stuff like that. But if you've got um a higher place. So you've got a barn, you've got a marquee in a field, and it's your dad's field and stuff like that. It's kind of up to you. And I've been at ones which have been really great, and they've had like a free cocktail hour, but they've made like the big sort of almost barrels of martinis and all that sort of stuff. So actually, you don't have 15 staff making cocktails, or two staff making cocktails for 100 people. So you just have to watch sort of the flow of the night. Um, and equally, if you have got a venue, I guess a bit like Claire's venue as well, and you're providing your own stuff, ask about corkage and all that sort of thing. But there's nothing wrong with like disappearing down the Tunnel to France, stocking up and then coming back, and then you've got your own stuff, especially if you have got like a venue that you can just do what you want in it, or you've got like a marquee that's in the middle of nowhere. And I guess some of the marquees that I've been to, they've did their own bar and stuff like that, so you don't get away with that stuff. But equally, I've had ones where it's had been in their own field, all the neighbours are there, they've got a bar, the bar's staffed, but then the bar staff disappear, and you suddenly realise actually the drink's still there. What do we do to drink? Oh, just help yourself. You're like, oh, okay, I'm not driving home tonight. So yeah, I think it depends on
Mm.
the venue that you've got, and I guess the vibe that you've got. And I've got an increasing amount of weddings now where they've got like miniatures and stuff like that, whether it's gin or whiskey as favours, so you can do it that way as well. Or I think the generally it's sort of tokens, as Claire was saying, more or less.
I don't think the majority of guests going to a wedding these days expect an open bar.
No, no, I don't think they do. And I think there's always oh gosh, hotel prices, wedding prices. I think it's the same with anything when you mention wedding, isn't it? Everybody thinks the price goes up. But if it's not a bar that's open regularly, if it's just an event space bar, prices are going to be a bit more of a premium just because
Yeah.
they haven't got that constant turnover. Excuse me, voice is still going.
But bear in mind, you can go into the city centre and pay £9 for a pint. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I don't
Yeah,
charge
absolutely.
£9 a pint on my bar. I'm quite reasonable. I make a real point because we're a licensed premises. And whilst we do allow our couples to bring in their own drinks in some occasions and do the corkage thing. And again, that it comes down to more because it's a management factor. Those drinks have still got to be chilled. They've still got to be loaded onto the bar. They've still got to have staff to serve them. They've still got to have fresh garnish and all of that. So we do that in terms of for corkage, but there are some places that do, and there are hotels that do charge an awful lot. I know that, but I try and keep my prices less than a gastropub in town. So I like to think that we're quite reasonable on our drinks prices to make it kind of accessible for everybody.
Really think the welcome drink of a glass of wine or a beer is really sort of stuffy and corporate and old fashioned. As a non-wine, non-beer drinker, and let's get this straight, I'm not a non-drinker, but
we
non-beer,
know.
non-wine drinker. It's not the ideal choice for me, and I like the the couples can make their signature cocktails, so I think that's a nice idea, or just their favourite drink. And I think as a couple as well, hopefully the majority of your guests, and you know what people drink. I've been at an event recently, and the hosts knew what people drank, and they ran out of that drink. The venue ran out of that drink because they didn't say. So if I don't know, your family all drink Guinness, just let the venue know so they can make sure they've got extra. We're going a little bit off Dan's question now, but in terms of open bar, I think we think open bars are a big expense that you don't need, unless you've got an endless budget, of course. But the statutory sort of drink of a welcome drink or toast drink is your sort of basic.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's
Yeah.
a nice gesture.
So, sort of tying into this, then, Chloe and Mike have asked, do we need to do wedding favours? And as you said, sometimes people do shots or drinks tokens as
Yes.
wedding favours. So, as a venue stylist, no, of course, you don't need to do wedding favours. You don't have to. It is, the traditional 3 almonds in a bag. But I mean, I think in 18 years, I put almonds out once. So yeah, and I've noticed that less and less couples are doing favours now and opting for instead like sharing nibble platters on tables if they're not going straight into a three-course meal and then straight into a buffet, or they are, as we said, doing drinks, tokens, and charity donations. Another big thing as well. Charity
Yes.
pins and scratch cards in aid of charities and things. It seems to be massive from
Yeah.
what I see.
I had a few last year that I did lottery cards.
Mm.
So that's a simple one. Wedding favours only if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did, if you search back in our archives, gosh, we should know which episode number, but back last year we did a whole episode, didn't we, on the history of favours and loads of different favour ideas. But it's back in the archive somewhere on Instagram.
Yeah.
We can find it and link it. If one of us
Yeah.
remember, we'll find it and link it. Okay, so Charlie has asked, do we have to have a sit-down meal? And I think these are quite linking in quite well. No, is the short answer. I think a lot of couples are opting for sharing boards, sharing platters, straight into a hog roast or barbecue or evening buffet. This is you guys now more because I'm at the beginning of the day. So Claire's all day and Sugar's at the end of the day. So what are you guys seeing in terms of alternatives to sit down meals?
Yeah, I
So
think I remember. Sorry, on you go, Claire.
No, oh, I was going to say, I think it's probably still about a 50-50 split from kind of traditional sit-down meals versus kind of more quirky alternative kind of dining. Gosh, I've had everything from like you say, hog roast, toasted sandwiches for evening food, pizza, the sharing platters, Greek style food, right through to kind of the traditional kind of sit down meals. Again, I think it's personal choice. I think look at how your day is going. What kind of works with the venue? Now, there'll be some venues that will stipulate you have to do a sit down meal and you have to choose off menu A, B, and C. Certainly a lot more traditional hotel venues might not have the options, or they may have the sit down or a buffet. So talk to your venue about what they offer, explore what they offer before you book, because if food's really important to you, make sure that you've got the option to do what you want. But yeah, there's some really creative, lovely ideas that we've seen. And obviously my venue being quite outdoorsy really lends itself to kind of outdoor barbecues and hog roasts and street food vans and that kind of thing. So yeah, we've had sort of Chinese kind of wok noodles late at night. And I still think one of the greatest ones I've seen, and I think it was in America, on Instagram, was that somebody ordered McDonald's, other burger chains are available, and literally had their evening buffet, just like a whole McDonald's, kind of like hundreds of burgers and chicken nuggets and stuff. But that kind of does the rounds on Instagram quite a lot. So yeah, choose something that you like. Think about who's coming, dietary requirements. Obviously most caterers will take care of all that for you, but you'll need to take the lead if you're doing your own invites, in terms of allergens and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think you don't have to have a sit down meal if you don't want one. I've got lots of my weddings that are coming up that are doing some really fun and quirky things, and some that are doing like literally food will be open for like 2-3 hours and sit and eat when you want, rather than having even that kind of street food with everyone sat at the same time. But we've had that done too. So there's lots of ways. I would say choose something you love, choose something it's your day, and find the right caterer. My top tip would be, though, if you are doing an outdoor wedding, make sure it's somebody who is used to catering outdoors. If they're not used to working in a made outdoor kitchen, I have been in the situation before where I've worked with caterers and it was clearly their first time working in an outdoor kitchen, and it is a different experience, as much as they didn't think it was, but by the end of the day they certainly knew it was.
Yeah, definitely. I think the other thing as well, and this is adding more to the evening stuff and the evening food, is particularly if we've got pizzas, ask them how many pizzas can they cook at a time. Because if you've got 100 people and they're doing 2 pizzas at a time, it takes 5 minutes a pizza. You've got a long queue and it just doesn't work. And I say that to all my couples so I have like a 3 month chat and a 6 week chat. And sometimes at a 3 month chat, I haven't even decided on surnames, let alone anything else. But I say, what are you doing for your evening meal? And as soon as somebody mentions pizzas or fish and chips as the other one, like, can they do more than like 2 at a time? And there's a few people that have gone and then got different suppliers in the back of that, because there's nothing worse than people have had something to eat at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and by 9 o'clock they're starving and they're wanting something to eat, especially if I've had them for an hour dancing, and then they've got to wait. And that doesn't just go for like a pizza van; it can be a venue as well. There's been one really nice, really really nice, sort of farm venue down the back of, I won't say where it is now, but and it was lovely. It was a lovely bar and lovely staff and everything else, but they were doing 2 pizzas at a time, and you're like, oh no,
Yeah,
And
it suddenly takes your
thank you,
evening
sir.
food service to like 3 hours, doesn't it, to get it out? So yeah.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, no matter how great the day's been, how great the music and the entertainment been, if people have got to wait for food, that's the one thing they'll remember about your wedding. So it's worth just having that sort of double check.
Yeah.
So, okay, sticking with the food theme a little bit then. Um, Photographer A, not to be named, has asked about supplier meals and
It's either
meals.
Mark or it's Bill.
Photographer A. Um, yeah, wouldn't say about supplier meals for suppliers who are either there at the time that you're feeding your guests or who are there all day, there in the evening. I think this is Shuggy again.
Yeah, so again, I've had this from when I do the all day music stuff, and more often as sort of the band at night. I think if, from a photographer point of view, if you've been there since 8 o'clock in the morning and you've been doing the bride pictures and the groom pictures, you've got a second shooter and stuff like that, you've gone through the ceremony, you've done the sort of that bit between the ceremony and the meal thing, and then you get a sandwich and a packet of crisps. That photographer is not going to be um, as caring as they would be when it comes to doing your editing and all that sort of stuff, because that's what they'll remember about your wedding. And actually, if you say to the venue, make sure the suppliers get what we're having, because again, I've been to really nice weddings, but the food that the suppliers got was not what everybody else got. And knowing the couple, I'm sort of speaking to the couple and stuff like that, they would have been mortified if they found out what had happened. And they probably got paid. They probably had to pay the full whack for the
Mhm.
suppliers' meals. Um, Again, I'm not fussed whether I get fed or not, but on my booking forms, there's a tick box to say, is there food available? And it's a yes or a no. It's not either or I'm not fussed about it. If I know I'm not getting fed, I'll just take a packed lunch and stuff. It's the same in the evening. It's great that you get fed. It's great, even better for a band if we've got a free bar. But if it's food, it's just knowing, and then it's not awkward on the night. Oh, can we go and get some rolls and stuff like that? And some of the bands, like the stories that the musicians say about getting fed and stuff at weddings with other Ceilidh bands. It's like most of ours are yes, but the odd time it's a no. We know in advance, so it's not a hassle at all. But it's really just making sure that however you're running your wedding, you're making it as inclusive for your suppliers as possible and making sure that they get looked after.
Yeah, obviously we don't do catering at our wedding ourselves, so it's always outside caterers. So I don't specifically have it in my contract to say that my staff need to be fed, and normally there's plenty of food going around. So we'll always make sure. But I again will always make sure I look after the suppliers on site. So any photographers, people supplying entertainment, any setup staff, we don't charge them for drinks. We would make sure the band and stuff have all got water and stuff like that. So yeah, it is a tricky one. Some suppliers like Shaggy will have it in their contracts, others don't. But I would just ask the question if you're not sure, and ask your venue what provisions they can make for it, and ask your suppliers if they want. Now, you might find that your supplier, a photographer or someone who's providing a photo booth or something that's there all the time might say, oh no thank you, or I have dietary requirements and I'll sort myself out. But I think it's always great to ask and then speak to your venue and see what you can arrange and just
Definitely.
get it done beforehand.
Anybody who knows me knows that I've always got snacks on me anyway,
Yeah.
so I'm never going to starve to death. Okay, so there we go. Emily, why don't all suppliers show their pricing on their website? Now, this is something we discuss a lot.
Yeah.
We all have the same mentors, so we all have our pricing available on our website and on our brochures to download. I understand partly why this might be, because for me, my packages, yeah, absolutely. I can supply all of my packages on the numbers and the prices that are on my website. But how often is a wedding for 80 people, 50 people? it might be 82, it might be 49. So numbers do vary, but if you look at the pricing is always a good guide. And I think a lot of people will have example numbers for their pricing, and maybe it's a little bit different for Shuggy, because don't think it matters too much to him if he's calling for 20 people or 100 people, because they're still doing the same dances to an
No,
extent.
that is different actually.
Oh, is it different? Okay.
Yeah,
So we'll
so
let Shuggy explain that in a second. But for me, in terms of, especially if we're going fresh flowers, I don't put my prices for fresh flowers. We do predominantly artificial now, in terms of venue decor, and then bouquets are all quite bespoke, and buttonholes as well. But if somebody wants red roses at Valentine's, they're obviously going to be more than my standard prices. So it's always worth checking. But the packages and the prices are a really good guide. So I think that's why some suppliers shy away from putting their prices on, because they don't feel that they want to get tied into, well, you said that bouquet is £50. Well, actually, it's 100 because the suppliers put their price up, and that's out of our control. So always look at the prices as a guide, but just check that there aren't any, certainly with flowers, seasonal events like Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, International Mother's Day, and Christmas, and ask your suppliers if those prices would be valid for the date that you're looking at. And then we'll let Shiggy explain his pricing.
yeah, so my pricing's up. You can see what I'm pricing is. Whether it's a birthday, an anniversary, or a wedding, it's exactly the same price. My calendar's there as well, which is equally as important because I can only do one wedding or one ceilidh a day, so you can see if I'm booked or not. And when you see what's the difference between doing at a ceilidh wedding for 20 folk or a ceilidh wedding for like 300 folk, the difference is how interactive the guests can be. So you only need 6 people for 7 people really for a set for dancing. But if you've got a small wedding and the folk there aren't dancing, and I don't tend to get people booking that. I've had a few of these sort of intimate weddings and they've been fine, but that's because the couple want that and they know the guests that are going to be there want that as well. And it's almost like a tutorial in dances because you'll do much more dances than you would normally do. Whereas if you've got 300 people at a wedding, you can't say I'm going to do X, Y, and Z dances because you've no idea what the capabilities are of the people. They might not even know the right from their left. Some weddings that I do where there's like one half of the couple from the UK and the other one's from France or Romania or Hungary or India as well. So you have to sort of balance sort of how easy it is. You don't want things to be sort of too sort of technical for folk. And likewise, if you've got a big wedding like that, you can't see what people are doing, so you just have to hope for the best. Um, but having when you're looking for, and it's the same whether you're looking for a florist, photographer, ceilidh band, anything like that, if you've got to send a form with 150 questions on when you get married, what you want in this, what you want in that, what you want in this, you can see people's packages, you can see people's videos and stuff like, but you're like, how much are they? You have to wonder sort of, and I don't mean this the wrong way, but how professional are they? How many weddings have they done? How well do they know the structure for a wedding? How much are they just going to rock up and do the ceilidh, or are they going to help you with stuff? And if you look on a lot of the reviews that I've got, it's all the help and stuff that couples get beforehand, the touch bases that they get. I'm almost man, even though there might be a wedding coordinator there, I'm kind of managing the flow of the night for them. So it's almost you get what you pay for to a degree.
I think it comes back as well, doesn't it? It was quite old fashioned before to like hide your prices, and people don't put their prices on their website because they think their competitors are going to find out their pricing, or and as we talk about our wedding mentors, she would say, like, if someone wants to know your pricing, right, they already know your pricing, right?
Yeah.
They've set up a fake email account and they've downloaded your brochure, or they've inquired and they've got your pricing, right? People want to know. So I think it's probably education that's more needed in our industry to put stuff out there and to be as helpful as possible with that pricing. But I think, yeah, it's not necessarily a red flag that somebody's not put their pricing on. It could be just because they operate their business differently. Certainly, we certainly encourage to be as honest and transparent as the other two have said that we are with our pricing. But like Sarah said, there will be some seasonal variations with certain fresh products and things like that with caterers. But even most of my caterers will have an idea, even if they're pricing weddings 2-3 years in advance. You know, they can certainly give, this is what the menu is this year, and you know, cost the last 3 years costs have gone up by X percentage based on inflation. Obviously, you know, world events, and let's not get into that, but world events and things are going to have an impact on us all in terms of potential fuel and, you know, food costs and all of these things. So, you know, costs do vary, but yeah, where possible, I think it's great that we all put our pricing out there, because it helps people to be able to start with their journey, doesn't it, to start figuring things out.
And then that moves on to Mina's question. How do I start putting a wedding budget together? Well, I think going to some suppliers and make a list of suppliers that you need, and go and have a look at their websites and find their pricing on their websites.
Yeah.
Straightforward for
Yeah,
us. I mean, straightforward for us to sit here and say that.
yeah, work out what you can afford. How much do you want to spend on a wedding? You know, do some research, because there are products in every genre. From, you know, if we take wedding dresses, right, you can go online and you can buy a wedding dress for a couple of £100. You can go and get a couture gown for thousands and thousands of
31,
pounds.
yeah.
Yeah, so you know, it's we, you know, we never advise anyone to get into debt for their weddings. You should never spend money on elements of your wedding that you're not comfortable with, and figure it out. But yeah, do some looking around and then build your budget on what's feasible for you and what's realistic. You know, it does always make me laugh, more so in the corporate world, when I get people come to me and say, well, I've got a budget for this event and I'd like you to do this, this and this for that, for that budget. And I think, well, yeah, that's your budget, that's not my pricing. So, you know, it doesn't always work like that. But I would say to wedding couples, like, even corporates don't get it right in our space, and we all work for corporate clients, in all of us do. And obviously they're plucking figures out of their marketing budgets and, you know, their percentage of what they can spend on a certain event or something like that. And sometimes even those budgets are, you know, nowhere near what they need to achieve what they want to do. And I saw an interesting article about this the other day, actually. And this was another one of an industry speaker that a lot of us work with. And Sarah and I are off to an event hosted by her shortly. Us as an industry, actually, and I'd never thought of this, is when we do photo shoots, we should give some pricing for those photo shoots. And it never really occurred to me, but sometimes you'll see a photo shoot and you might think, wow, I really want that, but you've got no idea what price point that is. So maybe that's something as an industry whole, and it was something I saw Becca talking about, actually, and I thought was really interesting, that perhaps as suppliers we need to take a bit of responsibility and say, you know, this sort of look and this design in this venue is approximately, you know, 10k or 15k or, you know, 6k or whatever it is, to actually give people, because I think we talk a lot about it, don't we, especially now with Instagram and Pinterest and like traditional media with like magazines and stuff. It's quite easy to run away with ideas and inspiration and what you want with actually no concept of how much that's going to cost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it goes back to two of my favourite sayings. The one is, your budget doesn't reflect my talent. And oh gosh, I forgot the other one. The one that I always go to. No, it's gone. Oh, no, it hasn't. It's back. So you have got personality. I haven't got memory. That's what I'm missing. Your budget, it doesn't reflect your Instagram or Pinterest inspo.
Yeah.
Or the other way around.
Yeah, it's very much that, isn't it? And I think it's quite hard for people to start with that. But yeah, try and set a realistic budget, you know, that you're happy with and that you feel comfortable with, I think. And you know, and then kind of find suppliers that work for that budget. And cheap is not always best. Like, I think that's another whole episode that we should go into. Just because something is cheap. And it always reminds me of the one you see where it's like the guy who's painting a horse. And it's like the picture, and it's like this beautiful, like Shire horse, like oil paint, and then the back is just kind of like a 3-year-old's kind of drawing with just like some stick legs. Like, cheap is not always best, and it's not always the same surface. So you've got to weigh up that kind of thing. And sometimes too many cheap options, you end up paying more in the long run because you're having to
Yeah.
fix solutions and problems and things aren't delivered and stuff. But yeah, that's a whole other topic we can do another week perhaps.
Next on our
Definitely.
list then is a question from Mark. Gift lists, in or out?
Well, I think the traditional gift list came, didn't they, from going back in the day where people got married and were then starting a home. Traditionally, you know, I don't know how many years ago, certainly like when my parents got married, they didn't live together beforehand. They started their first like marital home when after they got married. So the idea of the gift list was to help furnish the home, wasn't it? Nowadays, obviously, that's quite different. Lots of people live together. I'm not saying everyone does, but lots of people do live together, you know, before they get married, or even if they don't live together, they probably live on their own or they have a certain amount of stuff. So is the gift list still relevant? I think it has a place. I think there are lots of options now where they can do things like putting money towards a honeymoon fund or doing sort of raising money for charity. I've seen one of my couples did that they asked people to donate to their favorite charity in their name, which I thought was really lovely. So yeah, I think it's a real mix. I think you have to do what's comfortable. People want to give you a present, or people want to give you something. So it's finding a way that makes you feel comfortable. And if you really don't want anything from them, then perhaps the charity thing's a really nice idea.
Yeah, I like the charity thing, and I do see a lot in invites as well. Money poems, people asking in a polite way for money towards their honeymoons, or you know, if they are starting a new home together. I often get couples who are selling two houses and moving into one, want to put their own stamp on it. Or they just want to refresh stuff. You know, they've still got the IKEA, nothing wrong with IKEA. They've still got the IKEA dinner service that they moved in with the chips in and the handle missing off the mug. And, you know, they want a brand new Denby set of the sets are available. You know, they want another set, a new set of something that's theirs. And, you know, a cutlery canteen. I love a cutlery canteen. I don't know what it is. I never use it. It probably comes out once a year. But I've got everything. Fish knives. I don't even eat fish that often. I've got fish knives. You don't need fish knives, fish fingers, but I've got fish knives.
I think you should up level your fish finger night and you start using fish knives for your fish finger night. I want to see that.
More mess than it's worth. Is there anything to add on any of the points before my voice yet again gives it?
No, I think that's great. Some good questions there from folk that have sent stuff in.
Yeah, keep them coming in. We like answering your questions. It's always one of our more fun sessions when we get to answer some of your questions. So yeah, DM us on any of our socials or on our group Monday Musings of the Wedding World. And we will be back with another topic next week.